Now, we have a piece in the Wall Street Journal news section today. It's about an hour old, maybe a little older, but fairly new, where they're leaking again the FBI to protect Strzok and Page on this text you've been hearing about. In the Wall Street Journal, Del Quinton Wilbur writes, text messages from 2016 show preparation to brief President Obama about Russia's interference in that year's election, according to associates of the FBI employees involved in the exchange, not, as a Republican senator suggested, meddling by the then president in the federal Hillary Clinton email investigation. Now, how would associates of Ms. Page and Mr. Strzok know this unless Ms. Page and Mr. Strzok told them today, yesterday, the day before? They were texting. A 25-page report released Wednesday, that's today, by Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, chairman of the Senate Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee, highlights previously cited text messages between Peter Strzok, a former FBI agent, and Lisa Page, a bureau lawyer with whom he was having an extramarital affair. Mr. Strzok supervised the investigation into Mrs. Clinton's use of a private email server while she was Secretary of State and was to become the lead agent on the special counsel Robert Mueller's team investigating any ties between Trump associates and Russia. Mr. Strzok was removed in July, however, after the Justice Department's Inspector General uncovered numerous text messages between Strzok and Page in 2015 and 2016 that were highly critical of Mr. Trump. Since Strzok's removal was disclosed in December, staffers for Mr. Johnson and other senators have been poring over the pair's correspondence. And the Justice Department has turned over to Congress 2 batches of the pair's texts. Isn't that what an investigative committee is supposed to do? While the Wall Street Journal, this is them writing, obtained many of the text messages between the 2 staffers last week, reporting that they showed no overall conspiracy against Mr. Trump, this is where they come into defense mode. Republicans and the president himself have cited the messages as evidence that the Russian probe amounts to a wider plot to undermine him. Mr. Trump tweeted Wednesday, new FBI texts are bombshells. He didn't cite any particular text message. Well, we know what he's talking about. In his Wednesday report, stay with me. You're not going to hear this anywhere else. I don't know who's saying what, but stay with me. Mr. Johnson pointed to a September 2, 2016 exchange in which Mr. Strzok and Ms. Page were discussing talking points for then FBI Director James Comey to deliver to Mr. Obama. Quote, here's the text. POTUS wants to know everything we're doing, unquote, Ms. Page said, using the acronym of President of the United States. Mr. Johnson said the text raises questions about the type and extent of President Obama's personal involvement in the Clinton investigation. But associates of Strzok and Page said that exchange referred to the president's wanting information on Russia election meddling, which the FBI was heavily involved in over that period. That exchange occurred just days before Mr. Obama and Russian President Putin met at a summit in China. Mr. Obama said in December 2016 he had addressed the issue of tampering with the election process with Mr. Putin at the September meeting. In August and September 2016, the FBI was no longer actively investigating the Clinton matter. It goes on. I think Senator Johnson's wrong, too. I don't think that text had anything to do with the Clinton matter. And I agree with the Wall Street Journal. It had to do with the Russian matter. But that's where the Wall Street Journal and I part company. Our friends at CNS, CNS.com, that is CNSnews.com, Susan Jones. On August 30, 2016, 3 days before FBI agent Lisa Page sent a September 2 text message saying that POTUS wants to know everything we're doing, House Democrats asked the FBI to investigate Trump-Russia connections. In a letter to then FBI Director James Comey, dated August 30, 2016, House Democrats wrote in part, quote, based on multiple press reports, it appears that the FBI is investigating whether Russia executed cyber attacks against the DNC and the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee that resulted in the illegal hacking of a wide range of emails and other documents. We are writing to request that the FBI assess whether connections between Trump campaign officials and Russian interests may have contributed to these attacks in order to interfere with the U.S. presidential election. Serious questions have been raised about overt and covert actions by Trump campaign officials on behalf of Russian interests. It's critical for the American public to know whether those actions may have directly caused or indirectly motivated attacks against the democratic institutions and our fundamental election process. So, 3 days later, after the letter, according to newly released text that I just read to you, seen by Fox News, Lisa Page and her fellow FBI agent Peter Strzok were discussing the preparation of talking points for Comey to give to President Obama, quote, who wants to know everything we're doing, unquote, Page wrote to Strzok. So the Wall Street Journal is fed information by allies of Strzok and Page in the FBI, anonymously, regurgitates it, and that's that. No, that's not that's that. What information was given to Barack Obama? Why can't we get to the bottom of that? We don't need to keep guessing. What did he know? He knew a lot. I'll be right back.